Hey there, amplifiers. So if you've tuned in to the show before, you know that I'm a big fan of taking these small little actions to achieve big results. And sometimes that's really helpful to have a framework to do that. You want something where you can follow and get a consistent result and know that you can take less actions and get more done. Our guest today even wrote a book on such a topic. And it's really cool to have him here and sharing some of the insights. He's an author of a couple different books. He's done Profit First for micro gyms. So as you've probably been seeing, we've got several different Profit First professionals with different niches on the show recently. And then the 3x3 book is really about how you can get more done with less. He's the CEO of Insight Tax. And I'd like to welcome to Growth Amplifiers, John Briggs. John, thank you for coming and sharing your wisdom and expertise on Growth Amplifiers.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Kenny. I'm really excited to be here.
I'm excited to have you here because you are someone who has taken the time to not only learn things on your journey, but you've put thought leadership to it. You've produced books and are putting it out there in the world, being a true amplifier, and that's really awesome. So I'm curious just to know a little bit more about your backstory. How did you get to be the amplifier that you are today?
So I graduated with a master's degree in tax from BYU, and like most universities, they kind of are teaching the students to be a cog in the wheel, to basically work for someone else. And I had a couple opportunities fall across my path, and so I ended up going into like being a partner in a firm. And it was a very interesting scenario. I had 2.5% ownership, which basically means no decision making. And I learned a lot of things about, so that was my second experience because technically I also spent some time at Deloitte. And so I learned that this whole idea of being employed by someone else and killing yourself like with all the hours because simply for the reason of this is how it's always been done, it didn't resonate very well with me. And it definitely wasn't very good for my mental well-being or health. And so through a course of a few different situations, I ended up having my own firm. And I tried to create an opportunity where we're looking at the world from a standpoint of work-life harmony for team members first, and with the mindset that the customers pay our bills, so we want to take good care of them. And honestly, with that mentality going into it, we've been able to amplify the experience of our accountants. We've been able to amplify our clients because turns out if your team member has good work-life harmony, they are nicer to the clients. And the clients tend to appreciate that. That's kind of the Reader Digest summary version of how we might amplify things.
So you've authored a couple books. We've got Profit First for micro gyms, and curious to know kind of what got you in the world of micro gyms. It's an interesting niche, not one I come across often.
Right. Yeah. Come to find out, there's like 75,000-ish micro gyms in the U.S. Not a very big market.
What actually makes it a micro gym? Just curious.
Yeah. So it's really what it isn't. So you have Globo gyms, as we refer to them, and those are your Fossa Fitnesses, Gold's Gym, Planet Fitness. Their model is really, really low monthly fee. You're renting the equipment, come in and use our equipment. Something I don't love about that model is most of them require a lot more members paying for a membership than can actually use it. Because if all the members who are paying actually came in, they wouldn't have the capacity for it. A micro gym, on the other hand, is like a boutique fitness. They usually aren't gigantic, but they certainly can have 500-ish members. But it's way more high touch. It's the personal training. It's the group training. It's usually some sort of fitness led by an instructor on some level. And they rarely have a big franchise name behind them, although there are a few that fit the model, like F45, Orange Theory. You could argue could be considered micro gyms because they have high touch. But so anyways, two things happened that got us into that niche. The first one was we had a client who was selling website services to gym owners, and then he brought on a guy who would do business consulting and mentorship with the gym owners. And he's like, hey, I really love what you're doing. You're saving me a ton in taxes. Would you be willing to talk to some of our paying members like about their specific tax situation, which was awesome for me because my philosophy is educate, and you'll get it. If you just share enough value, enough people will hire you. And so it was like a really good marketing tool for us in the beginning when I was super, super tiny. And we ended up getting this concentration of gym owner clients.
Mm.
Then, second thing that happened in conjunction to that, I read the book Pumpkin Plan by Mike Michalowicz, who's also the author of the original Profit First System. And the Pumpkin Plan talks about this concept of niching specifically because he thought, how the heck do these farmers grow these 1,000-pound pumpkins that then win these prizes at state fairs? What are they doing differently? And using the same process that a farmer uses with good seed, weeding, like relentless attention to the one pumpkin that you're trying to grow, like these principles apply directly to how you should be niching in your business. And Mike Michalowicz, with all of his books, he does an amazing job identifying tools that you can actually use and apply the principles. So I went through some of his exercises, and come to find out, the gym owner client, we loved working with gym owner clients. They know they don't know the stuff, so they weren't arrogant, because unfortunately we do deal with some doctors and lawyers, and sometimes they just think they know more about the tax stuff because they're really smart with their current job. I don't know how that works, but gym owners didn't have that. So they were enjoyable to deal with. Because of the way they charged their clients, there wasn't a lot of pushback on the value for the fees that we were charging. And so we're like, all right, let's start niching here. And when Mike offered the opportunity to some of us to be an author of a Profit First book for a specific niche, I definitely jumped at the opportunity because I knew it'd build our credibility. Not to mention, we always adjust the system for gym owners, just like you probably have found with some of your other past guests. They always have to tweak the original system a little bit based on the industry.
And I really appreciate the mention of the pumpkin plan, because we're trying to be advocates for people who are business professionals to lean into that niching to really provide a better value, because they can get deeper, they can be more systematic. There's so many benefits. And that's a great book. Definitely, if you want to learn more about Profit First for micro gyms, you can go on Amazon, you can check it out. But you've also got this amazing other book. And I'm looking on the website, I'm seeing the knowledge and expertise you're putting out there, the 3x3 rule. So curious, how did that come to be? You're like, which came first, the chicken or the egg?
Yeah, it's funny. After writing Profit First for micro gyms, I'm like, well, I never want to write another book again. That was so much more work than I thought it would be. And when you finish the book, that's actually just the start of it, because then you have to market it and let people know the book even exists. So what was going on is Profit First for micro gyms is great, but it's ultimately Mike's system that we've improved and become the authority on to help gym owners apply it to their business. Because I have a soft spot in my heart for gyms and what they do for the world and giving people health and all those great things that they do. But then as we started going, I didn't want to write another book, but I don't know how to say it other than like I felt called to do it. I'm looking at what we're doing as a firm, and I want to help influence the accounting industry to have a work-life harmony. Because right now, the way the industry works is there's a lot of accountants that just leave the industry because of burnout, because of the consistent hours. And so I just started thinking through, like, what are we doing differently to these bigger accounting firms? And it actually started with this concept of the caring concept. Like, honestly, I mean, if you look at the way they behave, and this doesn't even apply to just the accounting industry. If you look at a lot of large corporations, their behaviors don't necessarily say that they care about their team. And so them caring about their clients is a whole other book, right? Which I'm not going to write.
Yet.
Yeah. But caring about your team members. So then I started talking to AJ Harper, who's Mike Michalowicz's co-author on all his books. And she's like, okay, so the caring concept. If you ask the owners of these other companies, do you care about your team members? They're going to say yes. I'm like, yeah, okay. So that's not it. And I started I came up with basically 30-ish things. I'm like, well, here are things that we're doing that help encourage a work-life harmony with the responsibilities of work and having a life. Then I pared it down, like, what are the foundational things? Because some of them were related. And then I came up with these different things. I started talking to other business owners about it. And they're like, well, I was a lawyer. I was an engineer. I'm in this industry. I'm in that industry. And they're like, I have the same problem that you're talking about that accountants have. We're just with the financial motivation, the shiny object pushing us constantly. There's such a natural temptation and influence coming down on us to continue to work harder and harder, which is why hustle culture is so popular by a lot of people. And the science doesn't support that. And so I'm starting sharing these ideas and like, I need that book. And so we identified of all the things and what that we've done with paired with the science that I found, we decided, you know what, let's make this approach based on the science element of it, because people may not even realize that some of the things that we do habitually culturally is just because that's how it's been done. And there was no rhyme or reason in the beginning why it even started that way, but we just accept it. For example, the 40-hour work week. Most people don't realize how this happened. Late 1800s, 80 to 100 hours a week was common knowledge. Like that was common practice. 80 to 100 hours a week. Yeah, murder. And you know what you want to do on the one day off, because they only had Sundays off?
I think you just said it.
Yeah.
Uh,
They want to rest. Like they don't want to do anything. And so they came along this guy early 1900s who was selling automobiles. And you know who doesn't want automobiles? People who are working 80 to 100 hours a week because they don't want to go anywhere on their day off. So he started with his own employees and said, you know what? I'm going to give them an extra day. He created the weekend for us. He said, I'm not going to have my team work on Saturdays either. They're only going to work Monday through Friday. And I'm going to have them stop working after 8 hours so that they can go home and feel recovered coming into the next day. Now, all of a sudden, people are working less hours. They're not exhausted by the weekend. They have 2 days in a row that they can take time off. It's like, oh, I've always wanted to go there. Oh, and now that I could go there, if I had an automobile, I can go a little bit further. So arguably, to sell more cars, the 40-hour work week was created. And we still do it today, 100 years later, even though the science does not support sitting down for 8 hours a day and just working 8 hours a day, 5 days in a row.
So you were inspired to come up and share these principles in your book. And why would someone, or who is this book for, and what is the value proposition for them to say, yeah, this makes sense, I should check this out?
Yeah. The book is for anyone. Like, we can all be more efficient. So the title is the 3.3 rule. It's the new workday standard to get more done by doing less or by working less. I wrote the book, though, like geared towards the small business owner who is currently already probably facing and feeling that temptation to have to keep working for a variety of reasons that small business owners face. And the first half of the book is related to the science of the 3.3 rule itself, which simply stated is the most efficient workday consists of working up to 3 hours at a time, followed by a 30% recovery period. And the key is that recovery period. So if I worked 1 hour, I'm going to follow that with a 20-minute break, because 30% of 60 minutes is 20 minutes. And it doesn't have to be a hard and fast rule. It's just the 30% is a pretty close to what most people need. Now, with that, then the second half of the book is geared towards what I pared down to be the root activities that we did to help implement efficiency and work-life harmony. Because what I'm trying to do, I just have this philosophy. Look, lifestyle businesses are great. If someone just wants to be the one-man shop and they want to have a great lifestyle, that's awesome. I think there are some consequences later on, like ability to sell your business, that you're going to run into some issues. And so I also, from experience of being my own one-man shop in a windowless office to 230 plus team members now, I've kind of experienced both ends of the spectrum. And I make more money now and work less with a bigger team, even though there were some painful periods in the middle of learning how to be a leader. And so the back part is called the 3.3 system, which talks about the root behaviors that we do to help our team members enjoy work, but also provide the value exchange that the small business owner needs, which often they're not getting, which is one of the reasons why they're super stressed and feel like they have to hustle. Because at the end of the day, they're kind of just making up for mistakes their team members are making and not getting to things. And some of that, I mean, a lot of that has to fall on the shoulder of the small business owner. And they don't know what they don't know. They may not realize that they hired the wrong way. They're not training the right way. They think they're delegating, but it's actually abdicating. And so there's just a bunch of concepts that go into around the focus of how do we help you not burn out, but also have a super efficient and profitable business.
I think that's an amazing concept, and it's definitely much needed because there are a lot of people connect with them all the time that they're trying to work with the team. Maybe they skipped some steps. Maybe they hired a person that had 80% of what they need, but they were missing 20%. And maybe they, like you mentioned, if they think they're doing the process, but they're missing something, they're not quite doing it the way it needs to be done. So they're not getting the right outcome. So then they're disappointed and frustrated. And so then they're less likely to do that again. Or maybe they hired someone they had a bad experience, like a bad relationship. You get in a bad relationship, have a bad breakup, and you're like, I don't want to do that again. That causes pain,
Yeah.
that causes challenges. So for people that maybe they have had those bad experiences, or maybe they're in the middle of them, getting the book is one thing. Where could they go, and where should they learn more about that concept?
Yeah, so you can buy the book on Amazon, 3.3 Rule. You can go to 33rulebook.com. You go there. We teach a lot of those types of concepts. We have handouts and all those things. But it is interesting how many small business owners I talk to that are basically them. Maybe they have like one outsourced company they use for something.
Mm-hmm.
And in talking, they tried to hire, they tried to grow their team, and it was a bad experience. And now they have hiring PTSD or managing PTSD, right? And I always tell people, and my kids hate it when I say this, but it's like everybody sucks at something the first time they do it. So why, as business owners, are we giving up? It's like, it's okay to accept, I don't know how to hire. I certainly didn't. I don't know how to train. I certainly didn't. You can learn it, but just because I didn't know how to do it in the beginning and it might have been an unpleasant experience doesn't mean it's inherently bad. It just means we might need more reps to figure out, to really just how to figure it out.
I think that's an awareness that we can become blind to. I'm sure there's things that I've tried, and then after having a few experiences, said I don't want to do that again. But it's limiting, and then we kind of get tunnel vision on what we're focused on, and we pick up self-limiting beliefs. We pick up blocks that we don't resolve. For people that might not realize they don't know what they don't know, maybe they have a few of these blocks. Maybe they could totally benefit from getting the book and applying the 3x3 rule. How could they get better awareness of themselves, of the blocks that could be holding them back?
Yeah, I mean, I personally have worked with business psychologists on my own stuff. I think it involves having someone else there that can help you. I mean, some of us call it calling you out on your own BS, right? Other times that you could phrase it in like someone just help me see my blind spots. But at the end of the day, I think we all need someone, whether that's an official, like I'm paying someone for a coaching service, or in my case, I paid a business psychologist to help me work through some things, or I have an unstructured relationship with someone who we just go to lunch with once a month and we respect each other. Maybe we're both small business owners. I don't think you can know what you don't know, because you don't know what you don't know. Like, right? Like I don't see how anyone can ever do that without some sort of input from some other source. And often I found human connection to be that great source to help me discover that I didn't know what I didn't know.
So some of the challenges that someone might be experiencing that this book might be a good solution for is I seem to be working a lot more than I want to. Maybe I don't have a pathway to start working less. Maybe I feel like I'm doing good, but maybe there's some things I realize I don't know everything. And maybe I want to learn some things and learn from someone else's experience.
Yeah, the book is for someone who feels burnt out or nearly burnt out, and it's going to help those small business owners, because there are more than like there's a variety of factors that are going into someone feeling that way. And I think if you look statistically at the world, the fact that someone had the courage to be a small business owner in the first place puts them in a very small group of people. That small group of people have the entire US economy on their shoulders. Like the Fortune 100, Fortune 1000 companies get all the publicity, but at the end of the day, our economy is because of the small business owner. They're responsible for like 94% of net new job creations. And so I think in order for our economy to be better, regardless, we won't go on the political side of government policies and how that definitely affects things. But in general, if political policies were neutral, we can improve our economy by helping small business owners stay in business. And I know that once someone hits burnout, their decision to get out of the business and like it happens pretty quickly. And so let's keep these people who had courage to start the business in the first place. Let's keep them in business because I think it's better for all of us.
Right on. That's kind of the spirit of being an amplifier. I had a background in playing music, used to play on stages, started my first entrepreneurial gig recording other bands with music equipment. Then I became a father and kind of switched my genius a little bit and took the creative side to more the marketing and sales side of the fence. But the concept, there are so many unique people, the people who get into their profession. They got there because they had a passion. They saw that they had a gift. They saw they had something, but then all the weight of all the different things they didn't know, all the skills that maybe they're not as good at yet because they have not had that experience can weigh them down. And so we need amplifiers like yourself to turn up the volume, help them clear the path so they can have more impact. And curious to know, one of the things that we do to kind of conclude these shows is if you could share something that you've learned on your journey that would be helpful for someone on theirs. It could be related to one of your books or concepts, or it could be anything in life. What is something you'd care to share?
Yeah, I mean, the 3.3 rule was huge for me. I'll just give you the brief. One of the main scientific studies that kind of supports this rule. There's a guy named Alejandro Yetis out of the University of Illinois. And at the time, people were trying to figure out attention span. And he said,
Huh? What was that? Sorry.
Yeah, exactly right. These guys were like, I want to win the Nobel Prize because I'm going to be the one who determines the human attention span is X. Like they're gonna pinpoint it. And he actually he paused and said, he was a little contrarian. He's like, I wonder if we're asking the right question because isn't our attention always somewhere? If I'm daydreaming, my attention is on that daydream. So it's not attention span. If I'm awake, I have if I'm awake, I have attention span.
Mm-hmm.
Period. It just might not be on what I wanted it to be on. So then he started looking at other studies that talk about physical stimulus. For example, the clothes that we're wearing. Our brain is patterned to neutralize a constant stimulus. Our clothes have weight. Until this very moment, you probably forgot you technically were wearing a shirt. But now you can feel the weight of it. And if you wiggle a little bit, you can feel the friction on your skin because we're just calling attention to it. He said, I wonder if our mental capacity and the way we focus is the same way. And, long story short with the science studies, sure enough, when you focus on something mentally, your brain will neutralize that stimulus. And that's why we need a consistent break in between the works to never sit down and just work 8 hours straight. And the science supports that even if you love what you're doing and you're in the zone, after 3 hours of doing that same thing, your productivity is going to decrease. So if I'm working and I'm 50 minutes into it, I'm like, I feel like I'm having a hard time focusing. Stop working. Take a 30% break. So whatever 50 minutes was, 30%. If I'm in the zone, like for me, I geek out on forecasting and spreadsheets, I can go full 3 hours on that. But if I get to the 3 hours and I'm still like, this is great, I know I'm going to start waning in my productivity. And as a business owner, I want the most out of my time. So I'm going to stop. I'm going to take an hour break. I'm going to let my brain reset. I'm not going to do any work during my 30% break, my recovery period. I'm going to get back at it. And I'm going to be way more productive and get more work done, even though I took that break because I'm allowing my brain to reset because it has a natural cycle of focus, attention to what's the word? I just forgot it. I lost it, but not paying attention. It just naturally cycles between those.
You did that on purpose.
Anyway, so if there's one tip I can give yourself frequent breaks. If you don't feel like you're focusing, that's your body telling you, go ahead and take a break.
And I would double that because I know there's people that have told me, because I do some mental fitness events. We're talking about mindfulness or meditation or things of that nature. And people are stressed out. They have anxiety. They're continually pushing themselves, and they will sometimes have the excuse, I don't have time for that. I don't have time to take breaks. And I'm the counter. You don't have time not to take breaks. It's costing you not taking breaks.
100%. Yeah.
Burning from the candle from both ends is not a way to win. So I think there's awesome truth to what you're saying. And if you're tuning in, check it out. You can go to the book 33rulebook.com. There's definitely a cool website to check out. You also have insighttax.com. We hadn't talked a lot about that, but quick shameless plug. your business, Insight Tax. Could you tell us a little bit more just about what you do?
Yeah, we're a tax firm. We kind of think the IRS sucks and the government sucks at spending your money. Yeah, hence my T-shirt. And so we try to help our clients keep as much of their money in their pocket as possible because, again, the world's a better place if they control it. And so that's tax compliance, year-end planning strategy, cash flow management, all paired with the idea of how do we figure out how to keep more money in your pocket.
And as we were kind of discussing, you don't know what you don't know. So if you've never worked with a tax planner or tax strategist, it might be time to get a fresh look. Chances are you're overpaying, or you could be utilizing some strategies that could help you keep more of your hard-earned money. The government's going to spend it on silly stuff anyway. So
that's right.
Let's take new actions, achieve new results. John, thank you so much for your time, for sharing your story, for being the amplifier you are in the world. Highly appreciate you. And if you're tuning in, leave any questions that you got, and we'll try to get back to them in a reasonable time. Thank you so much, John. Appreciate you.
Thank you.
To show your support, take a moment to amplify this message by sharing it online. To connect with me or gain more business growth insights, visit www.growthamplifiers.com. Thank you for your support.